Hi, I'm Ian Grote, Development Manager for Canopy Living, and we're down here today at the Verity factory in southwest Sydney in Campbelltown. And I'd like to introduce Daniela from Plus Energy Living, who's been working with Canopy Living for some time now, helping us fine-tune our buildings to make sure that we provide the most comfortable, energy-efficient design solutions that we possibly can. One of the things that we tried to do from the outset was introduce a number of Passivhaus design principles to create something that was different in the marketplace, very high performing, and has a high level of thermal comfort. Passivhaus in Europe has been around for quite some time, but here in Australia it's still a relatively new concept. So with that, I thought I'd ask Daniela to explain a little bit more about Passivhaus, the Passivhaus design principles, and how we've implemented them into our dwellings.
Passivhaus is essentially a building methodology which is made up of 5 basic principles, being increased thermal insulation, double glazed thermally breakable windows, heat recovery ventilation, thermal bridge-free design, and airtightness. So it all ties together using the Passivhaus modelling software. So that ties all the elements together and gives you your outputs for your energy usage, your performance, and where there might be some lagging in the performance of the dwellings and how we can improve on that.
So this software actually analyses every single building component that we use to build the home and analyses it from a thermal perspective?
Absolutely. So it takes into consideration the location of the building, the orientation of the building, any shading outside of the building and internal to the building, the occupants and any heat gains that they create in the building, appliances. It takes everything into consideration so that we can ensure the best performance of the building.
Out of those elements, what are the key components that you see that we've introduced into our buildings?
Out of those components, I guess we've got the thermally broken double glazed windows. So that stops the heat transfer from the external to the internal, cooler in summer and warmer in winter. Then you've got the double layer of insulation, so the minimum insulation in New South Wales is currently R2. We've gone for R4. And then the internal air tightness layer, which keeps that cooled and heated air in the building. You're not losing any of those benefits from all the other components in the building.
So whilst the envelope is thermally protecting the internal occupants from the elements outside, the internal air tightness layer is stopping that conditioned air from moving from inside to outside. So the heat recovery ventilator is required because we've created this airtight space within the dwelling. We need to provide a heat recovery ventilation system.
What the heat recovery ventilation unit does is like our lungs. It takes out the bad air from the building and replaces it with fresh filtered air from the external. So we're taking air from the kitchens and the bathrooms, extracting all that air and replacing it through the living areas and the bedrooms with fresh filtered air, which also means that there's less pollens, less pollutants, less dust in the building, which means a healthier, cleaner environment for the occupants.
And in terms of maintaining air temperature inside the home, because the property or the dwellings are so thermally insulated,
yes.
Do we need an air conditioning system?
So this is where the modelling that we've done using the Passivhaus software comes into play, because it tells us how much air conditioning we actually need during summer or winter. So there are going to be times during the year where we do need to cool the home, and based on the modelling we're able to say, well, we need a smaller air conditioning system because the cooling capacity is not that high.
So what do you see are the key benefits to our residents who are living in the dwellings?
The benefits would be overall health, not having any allergens in the home and dust, thermal comfort, so they're not going to be sitting there in heat, in cold, because we know that in a lot of the dwellings in Australia, because of how they're currently being built, we can't manage it very well. With the way that Canopy Living is moving forward to build these homes, we know that we're going to be able to maintain that comfort year-round for the occupants.
Do you think that there's also reduced utility bills that would come as a result of this?
Absolutely, and again, using the modelling, it shows what the overall energy usage through the year is, and we can see that, by reducing the size of the air conditioning requirements, the overall energy usage is a lot lower.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. So thanks very much for coming down today. It's been a pleasure having you down here.
Thank you.